A little over a decade ago, Toyota finally offered its very popular Prius hybrid with a plug. Now at the time, the Prius plug-in was very much a compliance vehicle, only offered in California with very limited amounts of range. Toyota followed it up, of course, with the Prius Prime back in 2017. This was a model that looked significantly better versus the regular Prius and offered up to 25 miles of range. However, today, we're out here to drive the next generation of the Prius Prime. And as you guys know, the Prius has been fully redesigned for 2023. It's the most comprehensive redesign that we've ever seen in this model's history. And today I'm actually out here again in Southern California with the all-new 2023 Toyota Prius Prime. It offers up to 44 miles of electric-only range, and it also solidifies its position as the performance Prius, offering up to 220 horsepower, which Toyota says is good for 0 to 60 in 6.6 seconds. So if you guys have been looking for the ultimate Prius and you also want something that offers a decent amount of electric-only range, how does the all-new 2023 Toyota Prius Prime stack up? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we start talking about the exterior styling changes for the Prius Prime, I want to show you guys what's underneath the hood, because Toyota says this is now the performance edition of the Prius, because get this guys, this car has almost 100 more horsepower versus the previous generation, about 99 to be exact, and it's all courtesy of an all-new 5th generation hybrid system. It's a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, their Dynamic Force engine family, so it's a bigger engine versus the prior generation. The gas engine on its own lacks direct injection, but it does make 150 horsepower and 139 pound-feet of torque. It's paired with 2 electric motors basically at the front of the vehicle, giving this vehicle front-wheel drive. Toyota says they don't offer all-wheel drive on the Prime like the regular Prius because of packaging constraints, because remember, this has a much larger battery pack, around 13.1 kilowatt hours. Now, the benefit of all of this improved tech, the electric motor now delivers 161 horsepower on its own for a total of 220 horsepower. That's right, 220 horsepower in a Prius. So it really shows you how Toyota is really stepping up their game in the hybrid technology, especially the plug-in version. This has about 26 more horsepower versus the regular Prius, which that one already has like 196 horsepower, so that's a pretty nice jump. Now, we don't have the combined torque figure, but Toyota says the gas engine on its own makes 139, like I said. It uses an eCVT, so a continuously variable transmission that also can function like a direct drive transmission when you guys have this in electric-only vehicle mode. Now, speaking of which, this car will go up to 44 miles on electric-only range. That's for the base SE with the 17-inch wheels. The XSE and up trims, like this model here, offers around 39 miles of range. That's an improvement of around 75% versus the old Prius Prime, which offered around 25 miles of range. So that's a huge improvement, and it's gonna be able to cover most people's daily commutes on a full charge, which is nice. In terms of performance, Toyota says this will now get to 60 in 6.6 seconds, which again is around a 3-second improvement over the prior generation. So we'll test it out when we get this vehicle out on the road. And then the Prime in general has a 13.6 kilowatt hour battery pack, so significantly larger. And we'll talk about the charging speeds when we show you guys the charging cable later. In terms of the curb weight, this vehicle weighs about 200 pounds more than the regular Prius at around 3,500 pounds. So it's still a relatively lightweight vehicle. But let's go ahead and close up the hood here and talk about the styling, because this all-new generation Prius, if you guys watched my regular Prius video, I'm pretty much in love with the styling. This vehicle gets a lot of attention out on the road because you just never thought that a Prius could have such attractive looks. Now, the XSE version is only available in SE, XSE, or I'm sorry, the Prime is only available in SE, XSE, and XSE Premium. This is the XSE Premium grade. It's painted in this beautiful shade of gray called Guardian Gray Metallic. It kind of has these metallic flecks in the paint. It also kind of looks like a cement color. It's a very trendy color. I think it works well on the lines of this vehicle. The new Prius in general is built on the next generation Toyota TNGA-C architecture. You can see the vehicle itself is about 2 inches wider. It's about 1 inch lower and 1 inch longer. You can see the front fascia really accentuates that added width with the way the headlights look. You have these bi-LED, LED low and high beams. You have LED turn signals. You have this kind of C-shaped LED daytime running light, which again gives the car a much more premium, upscale look to it. And then down here you can see these are actually, I believe, just accent lights. The turn signals are going to be up here. No fog lights on this vehicle, but you can see the Prime also has some of these silver accents along the front fascia. I don't love how the front bumper already has the front license plate built into it. Without it, It kind of just looks like an afterthought. So for states that don't require a front license plate, you're gonna have to deal with that look. And then over here, you can see there's also a front camera, along with the parking sensors and all of the radar and safety tech that you get with Toyota's Safety Sense 3.0, which is standard across the board for all Priuses. In fact, this model here also adds traffic jam assistance, which is the first Toyota to add that, which is great when you guys are stuck in traffic out on the highway. Now, looking at the side profile, you can see being built on the new TNGA-C architecture, the next generation, Toyota really wanted to challenge themselves to make this car a much more youthful car to attract a younger buyer and just give us a sleeker design. And let me know in the comment section below. I personally think this is the sexiest Prius ever. Now, granted, the previous generation had a really low target because it was just a really ugly vehicle in my opinion, and I think Toyota did a great job. The overall length is around 181 inches long. It's about an inch longer than the prior generation. Its wheelbase, however, has been stretched to 108 inches long. So again, relatively long wheelbase. What you are going to notice is the much lower roof line. The roof of this vehicle, to get the aerodynamics better, obviously had to kind of be lowered, which is going to affect the headroom. But Toyota says when you have the 17-inch wheels, you have a 0.27 coefficient of drag, which is among the most slippery that you're going to find. That's all again for the range of this vehicle. Now, looking at the wheels, you can see Toyota offers a choice of a 17 or a 19-inch wheel. These are the 19-inch wheels that you get on the XSE and up trims. The premium version that I'm showing you here has the same wheels as the XSE. It has a relatively skinny tire, a 195 width tire, so it's not very wide. Again, that's for the efficiency. It's on a 50 series tire. If you guys go for the SE, that'll have a 17-inch wheel with a cover or an aerodynamic cover over it. And that has a 60 series tire. So the wheel doesn't even get fatter when you guys go for the XSE, the 19-inch wheel, but it does look pretty good. It has a different design versus the regular Prius. You can see the wheel arches are gloss black painted, and then the mirrors are also gloss black painted. But if you're looking for an integrated turn signal, it looks like it's not actually on the mirror. Now, the cool thing about the Prius Prime is when you go for the XSE trim, for 600 bucks extra, Toyota now offers a solar roof on this vehicle, which the solar roof is designed to actually recharge the high voltage battery and the 12 volts. So if you have the vehicle parked out in the sun, this is where you can kind of just charge the vehicle up off the grid. And Toyota says that it's going to vary based on how much sun the vehicle is getting today. It's a very beautiful sunny day here in San Diego. The company did estimate that if you use this vehicle and have it parked out in the sun a lot, you could theoretically add up to 1,250 kilometers a year in extra driving just from the solar roof panel charging up the vehicle, which is pretty cool. Looking at the rest of the profile, you can see the door handles are hidden back here in the C-pillar, which kind of gives it more of a coupe-like profile. Really big slants, all for aerodynamics. Looking at the rear, this is the fuel door over here. The charge port door is on the other side. And then looking at the rear, it looks pretty much the same as the regular Prius. There's just one badge here that's going to give it, or technically two badges. You have an XSE badge here. This trim is only available on the Prius Prime. And then you have the big Prime badge here along with Toyota's new Beyond Zero badge. The badging is also kind of blacked or grayed out, which I think it definitely looks better. And then you can see it has that full length rear LED tail light with the LED turn signal. It just gives this car a much more sophisticated and premium look. No longer does the Prius look like this economy car that just looks a little bit dopey from certain angles. Now, looking at the cargo area, the XSE Premium is the only trim that gives you a power-operated liftgate, which is definitely nice. And in terms of the cargo space, it's practically the same as the regular Prius, which is nice, although the high-voltage battery does live underneath the floor and in the internals back here. But you get around 20.3 cubic feet of storage space, which is fine. Toyota says if you fold down the second row seats or the back seats, it expands it out to around 27 cubic feet of space, which isn't a lot. But remember, if you guys want more space, Toyota easily offers the Corolla Cross Hybrid, the RAV4 Hybrid, the Camry Hybrid. That's going to give you a little bit more space in general. Underneath here, you can see there is some space for the charge port or the level 1 charger. It has a fix-a-flat kit. But again, the battery componentry lives underneath here, which is why there was no space to do an all-wheel drive version of the Prime. Now, as you guys see here, this comes with a level 1 charge cable, which is nice. And the charge port door is going to be over here on this side of the vehicle. So it just uses the same J1772 plug. And Toyota says the onboard charger is 3.5 kilowatts for a level 2, which means on a level 2 charger, you can technically charge up the battery in around 4 hours, which is a little bit slow considering the size of the battery pack. If you guys charge on a level 1 charger, which is the one you find in your home, it'll take roughly 11 hours, which is pretty much fine for those of you who plan to drive this vehicle during the day and then plug it in at night and have a full charge for your daily commute the next day. Now, before we get inside the new Prius and show you guys the interior of the Prime, I want to show you guys the key fob. You can see this is the current Toyota Prius key fob or Toyota fob. It says Prius Prime on the back to remind you that you have the Prime. You can also use their digital key system if you guys go for the higher trims. It has the usual lock, unlock, and the power liftgate button along with the panic button, and you can also use your phone as a key if you guys have that option, and use the Toyota Connected app. However, before we get inside again, I want to show you guys something new. The Prius has a new lock and unlock confirmation tone. It's different versus every other Toyota model. I want you guys just to listen to it real quick. It definitely is a little bit softer and not quite as piercing in terms of the sound versus other Toyota models. The company hasn't confirmed if this noise is going to be applied to every other vehicle, but I kind of like the sound. It's definitely a unique aspect of the Prius. Now let's go ahead and hop inside the interior. Now this particular one here is the XSE Premium. It does come with the Softex leatherette seats, so it's a faux leather. And as you can see with the Prime, you get these really cool red accent stitching and piping, which is unique to the Prime. It also has some red trim on the dashboard, but these seats, being that the Softex seats have a faux leather, these are also heated. Every Prius Prime comes standard with heated seats and a heated steering wheel, which is definitely nice. The driver has an 8-way power seat here with 2-way lumbar support, while the passenger, sadly, is just a 6-way manual seat. So again, this kind of reminds you where this car fits in Toyota's lineup. You also have 2-person memory seats on the driver's side, which is definitely nice. And I also want to remind you guys that this model here that I'm showing you is a very early pre-production car. So if there's some quality issues here, you have to kind of keep in mind this is a very early build spec car. Now let me go ahead and hop inside and show you guys the rest of the cabin. Now this is a low vehicle, and you're going to notice that I think it has like under 6 inches of ground clearance. It's a sedan, so you kind of expect that. As I get in and shut the door has a nice solid sounding thunk. This is built on the next gen TNGA-C architecture. And then you can see the start stop button is right here. It doesn't get blocked by the steering wheel, which is nice. When you push the button here, you can hear it has the typical Toyota startup chime in here. And then you can see this interior takes a lot of what we've seen from Toyota's all-electric SUV, the BZ4X. The instrument panel is practically the same. You have this kind of floating iMed display, which is a 7-inch display with this steering wheel, which I'm not a fan of the way the steering wheel looks. I kind of wish Toyota had done a different design for the Prime. But you can see here, these are the sensors for the traffic jam assistance. This car comes standard with their Toyota Safety Sense 3.0, so it's the current generation. And then you can see here, there's a big 12-inch display here that's part of the Toyota app here, or the infotainment display. This is built by Toyota Connected Services. This is their new infotainment system. The XSE Premium is the only trim to come standard with the 12.3-inch display. If you guys go for an XSE, it's optional as part of an option package. The base versions have an 8-inch screen here, but still includes wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, including over-the-air updates. You can see the screen itself looks good. It's very quick and snappy. I love how the CarPlay looks as well. It's got big, beautiful icons, nice looking graphics. Go back to the Toyota system here. You can see there's the Toyota GPS in the car, which is a cloud-based system, which means if you don't have signal via LTE, it's not going to actually have GPS maps, which most of you are going to go back to the CarPlay anyways. You can see all your usual icons are here, where you can adjust the music, telephone. You can also go to your car settings over here. And then you can also just go to regular settings, which allows you to customize a few things here. So this system here is one of my favorites. I think Toyota has done a really great job with the overall layout and how the whole system works. When I put the vehicle into reverse, you can see there's the backup camera that gives you a full top-down 360 view. Again, really great quality resolution and graphics, and you can also do a 360 perimeter scan and kind of change your different views here and there, which is definitely nice. There's also a camera washer on the back, which I didn't expect to find actually, but it's good for those of you who constantly drive in inclement weather conditions. Now let me quickly talk about the interior materials. Now this is the XSE trim, so it's going to have nicer materials, I believe, versus the base trim. You can see the door panel has a soft touch injection molded plastic. You have silver painted plastic door handles here. The window controls, they feel pretty high quality. And you also have one touch all 4, which is really nice. And in case you're wondering, all 4 of the windows roll down completely. So mainly the back windows, they also roll down all the way, which is very nice. The steering wheel, you can see, has a manual tilt and telescoping adjustment. And you do have to adjust this in a way where you kind of have to have this lower than you would, because if you have it too high, it's going to block your view of the display here. So this is a car where the Lexus yoke that you find in the RZ would be great to find here, although Toyota doesn't offer out here because they don't offer their steer-by-wire technology on the Prius. In terms of the dash materials, you can see this is a soft touch injection molded plastic. Up here it is hard touch plastic. There is a lot of plastic over here, over this area, which is kind of necessary to kind of create this like floating display over here for the iMid display. And then over here you can see you have more of that dark red trim from the seats carried over on the dash, and then there's a beautiful red LED ambient light strip here in the front of the vehicle that goes over into the driver's side dash as well. Compared to the regular Prius or the non-Prime, that is blue, it is red in this car. So again, it kind of gives you that differentiation. The XSE Premium also includes heated and ventilated seats. So this is the only trim to get the ventilated seats. Heated seats, however, does come standard on all trims. You have a single zone automatic climate control. In other markets, Toyota offers a dual zone, but not in the US market, sadly. Over here, you can see some storage for keys, your cell phone, sunglasses. You have 2 USB charging ports. You also have this really cool area here where you can take this out. There's a deeper storage area there, so it's kind of hidden storage, which is nice. You have cup holders here, then you have a lot of piano black plastic over here. Your drive mode selectors over here, there are 4 modes. There's a custom, a sport, a normal, and an eco mode. So we'll try out the different drive modes later on the driving scene. This right here controls the CVT transmission. You kind of kick it over to the right or the left and then pull back to go to drive, kick it over back and then go push forward to go to reverse. There's also a B mode that gives you regenerative braking for those of you who want to use some one pedal driving effect. You also have the button there to go into park, electronic parking brake here. And then you have different modes here for the how you want the vehicle to drive, whether you want it to drive as a hybrid or an electric vehicle. There's also a charge mode. So if you guys have driven other Toyota plug-in hybrids, it's practically the same thing. That's something you don't get, of course, in the regular Prius. And then your wireless phone charging pad is right here. You can see it didn't always work really well with charging my phone, but I also have a case on it. But you can see my iPhone 14 Pro Max fits in there quite nicely. You have a padded center console area here, and then you can see there's 2 more USB-Cs in there. So that's all for charging. And you have a little bit of a storage area there, which is nice. The digital camera rearview mirror is optional. It is optional on this trim, which again, if you don't use it, the view out of the back is a little bit obscured because of the sloping roof and the small window. And then you can see here, the solar roof doesn't give you the glass roof, obviously, so you can't combine the two. If you guys don't want, or if you guys want kind of the appearance of a sunroof with some light coming through, you can't get the solar roof option. But also keep in mind the glass roof is fixed. It doesn't actually open up, which again, some competitors offer an actual sliding sunroof, which would be nice. The seats are also pretty comfortable and supportive. I like how well bolstered they are, especially for a Prius. This model here also has an 8-speaker JBL sound system. It's the only trim to get that, which actually sounds pretty good. So if you're an audiophile, you're gonna want this trim anyways. Then over here, you can see the glove box is damped, but not lined with felt. It's a bin style. It offers a good amount of space in there. So overall, the front seat area is practically the same as the regular Prius, aside from all of the red trim. But keep in mind, if you guys want all the tech, you're gonna have to go for this higher XSE Premium grade. But let's go ahead and hop into the back seat, because this is an area, sadly, where you had to make some compromises for the sexier styling. Because the roof line here is 2 inches lower, the space back here, especially headroom, is reduced. Now, I'm only 5'7", and you can see at 5'7", with my head back against the headrest, my hair is actually touching the ceiling, and I'm not very tall. So again, this is an area where the old Prius just had more space, which it's sad, but you have to make compromises with the sexier styling. Get in and shut the door. You can hear the door has the same thunk as the front. You have hard touch plastic materials back here, so they did downgrade it versus the front door occupants, or the front seat occupants. You can see over here it is padded, at least where you would rest your elbows. There's a little bit of storage here for your phone, along with storage down here, which is nice. No rear seat air vents, surprisingly, even though this is the top Prius grade. You do have heated rear seats. This is optional. It's just 1 level heated seats. You have 2 more USB charging ports here, so there's like a total of 6 USB charging ports in this vehicle. That's a ton. You don't have a storage pocket here, but you have one over here. And then over here you can see you have an armrest there that folds down and gives you 2 cup holders. The seats themselves, they don't recline, sadly, but they do obviously fold down. And if you guys do fold them down, you can see it almost gives you a completely flat floor. So overall, if you guys need a bigger back seat, obviously the Prius can still accommodate average to shorter people, but Toyota will happily sell you a RAV4 hybrid or a Camry hybrid or a Corolla Cross hybrid if you guys need more backseat space. So here we are back in Southern California, and this is actually the same area that we had with the regular Prius. And let me tell you guys, that that all-new Prius with the 5th generation hybrid system really blew me away in terms of performance. We got 6.7 seconds in that car with all-wheel drive. It was about a half a second quicker versus Toyota's claim of 7.1. So now we're here in the Prime, which means it has 220 horsepower. It is only front-wheel drive, which means it isn't going to have the best power off the line. But let's go ahead and see what we can get 0 to 60 wise on this same stretch of road, because I'm curious. I think Toyota is being conservative with the time, and let's go ahead and see what we can get here. We brake torqued it a little bit, and I can feel it's almost limiting the power from a stop because it's front wheel drive. But we got 7.05 seconds there, which is actually slower than the regular hybrid. That's not great, but we are starting out at around 19 miles of range. It has about a 50 or 75% charge on the battery pack, but we're going to try it again. We're going to turn around, we're going to try it again and see if we can get a slightly better time, because that was a little disappointing. I expected this car to be fast. I'm expecting it to be in the low 6-second range, and it is impressive considering the old Prius is probably around 3 seconds slower versus the vehicle. I mean, Toyota says this new model has about a 40% quicker 0 to 60 time.
Was I in the car when you did the
You were, for the other one, I think you were. I can't remember right now off the top of my head, but I am definitely noticing that the all-wheel drive version of the car felt like it allowed me to launch it a little bit harder versus this model. And Toyota actually did mention that the reason why they can't do all-wheel drive in this vehicle is because it doesn't allow for the space. The rear battery pack is much larger in this model, and it just doesn't have the space for another rear axle on the back, which is why, hence, we don't have all-wheel drive. All right, so we found another stretch here that is definitely a straight part of the road, and let's see if we can do slightly better. It's in sport mode. I'm gonna brake torque. It's in hybrid mode as well, and let's see what we can get. Definitely feels good. 6.68 there, so this is with it more slightly downhill versus before it was slightly uphill. But this is basically matching the time that Toyota claims for the vehicle at 6.6. I'll have to retest one and see what we can get in our real world testing back home. But but yeah, maybe overall we'll try another run if we can find another straight road and not brake torque it. But let's just see what this vehicle is like to drive when we get around some corners. Now, the new Prius Prime is about 200 pounds heavier versus the regular Prius, and I don't really necessarily feel the weight. Toyota says most of the extra mass from the battery pack is actually in the rear part of the vehicle, which is why we don't have space for the rear electric motor. The Prius in general, Toyota said that the mission of this new generation was to make the car sportier and just sexier, more appealing. They wanted to appeal to a younger audience, and I definitely think they're going to do that with this new model. Toyota also says that they're thinking about 30% of Prius buyers are going to go for the Prime, and I think that number is conservative. I mean, unless you need all-wheel drive, this version here can essentially give you, all the range that you would want for your daily commuting, with up to 44 miles of range on the SE. This model here will do about 39 miles, but I switched it to EV mode because I want to see what this is like in EV mode. It actually feels really good in EV mode. I can put my foot all the way to the floor, and it actually doesn't turn on the gas engine. Now, it was earlier because it was in hybrid mode, but again, most of the Prime owners are going to be driving it in this exact mode where
almost as fast as with the hybrid mode.
It does, actually, and it has a little bit of an electric motor whirring noise, which is kind of nice. Like, listen to that, Rob. I kind of like that noise. I kind of like that noise at all. It sounds way better than the engine, because you guys heard in hybrid mode, the droney engine is just super annoying.
Sounds like it's saying Prius, wee.
It actually does sound like it's saying wee. But I think it feels sufficiently fast. You could get away with driving this vehicle on EV alone. And remember, the electric motor on this car makes 161 horsepower on its own. If you're keeping score, the old Prius Prime had 121 horsepower combined. So the power difference on this car is just astronomical. Toyota really pulled out all the stops to make sure this vehicle is just significantly faster. And you know what, this is the part where you're not really going to notice that it's front wheel drive anyways, because it doesn't really have enough power to spin the front tires out, but it just gives you that smooth, linear, like instantaneous torque that you kind of expect from an EV, and this is what buyers typically want to see anyways when they drive around electric vehicles. I mean, this makes the Prius feel like, it's an electric car, and that's kind of what the old Prime lacked. It didn't have a strong enough electric motor, or the battery pack was too small to the point where when you were driving in EV mode, it just didn't have that full electric car feel. All right, well, we won't brake torque it then. And I want to try doing a 0 to 60 with just EV mode.
I thought you were going to say without me.
Yeah, no, with just EV. Yes, without you, Rob. You're so fat. You're adding all this weight and slowing us down.
Well, we'll have room for 2 0 to 60s on that stretch.
All right, EV mode. Let's see what we can do. Put my foot down. It actually feels pretty quick.
Is there a click point?
There is no click point. Are we going to get to 60 before we get to... Wait. Okay, 11.65 seconds.
Oh man.
Remember, the in EV mode, it only has about half the power, so we're not going to be able to do 0 to 60 that quickly in this mode. Oh, look, there's Tommy racing us in the Corolla Cross Hybrid. Look at that. He's going to Alia Maria right now.
Oh, there must be a good place to film over there or something.
All right, so we're gonna try again here, and let's see if we can do. We're gonna try.
Exact same place, right?
Yeah, this is the exact same place. We're gonna put it back into hybrid mode. I'm not gonna brake torque it this time because Rob thinks that the brake torquing is slowing the car down. So let's see what we can get here. Our best run so far was 6.6 seconds, and
We're still
what do you?
at 18 miles? Right?
Still at 18 miles, yeah.
We
So
haven't lost much battery.
we have not. So it's still in sport mode. I'm gonna turn off
I'm saying
traction
6.4.
control. 6.4.
That's my bet.
All right, I turned off all the nannies, so it's
Yes.
not gonna interfere with cutting power.
It's right up there. Let's see.
It should be fast enough to make it to 60, I think.
We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. All right, let's see what this thing can do. So that was not brake torquing it. It still takes a second for the power to ramp up, but it's noticeably faster.
No.
6.86 seconds. So
Those are wrong.
6.68, I think, was the fastest we can get. We'll have to retest one when we get one back home for a week, but still, the performance of this car, even though it's about the same as what we got in the all-wheel drive Prius, kind of says like you're going to buy this model not for the 0 to 60 performance. Even though it has the most horsepower, you're going to buy this because when you put it back into EV mode, this thing feels like the all-electric Prius that a lot of consumers have been asking for. There's a cop over there. That was a cop. But we're in a Prius, and
Right,
you
of
can't
course, a
you
great
can't
Prius.
speed in a Prius.
Nope, great Prius.
All right, there we go. That's it. So as most of you guys know, I was never really a fan of the prior generation Prius. The styling just never warmed up to me. But after spending some time driving both the regular Prius and, of course, now the 2023 Toyota Prius Prime, Toyota has seriously outdone themselves with this vehicle. Yes, there are some compromises to having a much sexier design. The interior obviously is not going to be quite as spacious in terms of the headroom and in terms of the cargo room, but hey, Toyota has an SUV for that or a Camry hybrid for that if you want more space. But really, what the Prius offers now is finally a modern, premium electrified vehicle that also offers some of the capabilities of an electric car, especially the Prime model. As you guys saw during the driving scene, when you have it with a full charge or with some charge in the battery pack and you drive it in EV only mode, the car literally feels like the electric Prius, the all-electric Prius that we've always wanted. The 0 to 60 time is certainly acceptable for daily usage. It feels even faster than that in the real world. And in terms of if you guys want the speediest Prius, this is definitely the speediest Prius, although I'll be looking forward to retesting one when I get one for a full week to see if we can do better versus the 6.6 second time that we got during our testing here. Now, in terms of the style, this vehicle surprisingly still gets a lot of attention out on the roads. I mean, Toyota technically is just rolling these out into showrooms now if you guys want a regular Prius. Now, speaking of which, the Prime is going to be heading to dealers in May. This vehicle is built in Japan, just like the regular Prius, and Toyota is basically targeting around 30% of Prius buyers to buy the Prime. The company says they're targeting around 10 to 15,000 units a year to be built, and that's all restrained or constrained because of supply chain issues still. But because this vehicle is built in Japan, it won't qualify for the federal tax credit, which is a bummer. However, Toyota actually priced this vehicle very attractively because the base version of the Prime, the SE model, is going to start at $32,370. Now, that is about a $4,000 increase versus the prior generation. However, compared to the regular Prius, this is about $5,000 more expensive versus the standard Prius with front-wheel drive. Now, keep in mind, the price is going to go up as you go up the trim ladder. The XSE is going to start at around $35,900, while the XSE Premium, like the one I'm showing you here, starts at around $39,170. That is before the $1,300 destination charge. My tester here with the Guardian gray color and the solar roof, which is surprisingly only $600, comes in at a total of $40,875. So in terms of the highest trim level versus the highest trim level of the Prime in the regular version, this is only a couple $1,000s more at the high end, which makes this vehicle a really interesting proposition. Now, sadly, you can't get all-wheel drive with the Prime. However, if you don't need all-wheel drive, but you need that electric-only range, and this vehicle offers around 40 miles, the Prime is certainly going to be the one to get. And even though it doesn't qualify for the tax credit, it's going to be a really hot car, and I suspect Toyota is going to be building or selling as many as they can build. because the demand for this car, I suspect, is going to be higher than what Toyota's initial expectation is. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the 2023 Toyota Prius Prime. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.